All right, welcome back to Book Nook Brews, episode 2. Dose, sure. As always, spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. In this episode, we're speaking on chapters 8 through 15 of Sanctuary of a Shadow. Of the Shadow?
Of the Shadow.
Of the Shadow.
Yes.
Chapters 8 through 15 of Sanctuary of the Shadow. If you missed the first episode, that's where we spoke on episodes 1 through 7. Chapters, same thing. As we spoke in that first episode, I see this as a movie, so...
Yes.
Or that wouldn't even make sense. Episodes are not in a movie.
A series?
Yeah, dude. So yeah, in this episode, we're going to talk about chapters 8 through 15. But before we do that, I did want to start with something that I did not want to tell you, so you would not be prepared, because I know you would immediately go into looking for this.
That's not fair.
So what I wanted to do was a little trivia.
Okay.
So I have a list, which I think is correct. I've looked at multiple now. Okay. I think it's correct.
I suck at trivia.
I have 2 lists here. So I'm going to be asking you what the top 5 best-selling books of 2023 were. Now, I have 2 lists here. One has top 10 selling books. But then it says the end date is November 2023. And then I have the other list that says top 10 selling books 2023 year to date. So I think it's that one. But it worried me because I searched top 10 books of 2023, or top 10 best selling books.
Yeah.
And it's showing me that November one first. And then that year to date one is at the bottom. I don't know if that means, I don't know how this website works, if their updated one is at the bottom.
Man.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you for the top 5. If you say they're in the top 5, like if you say a book and it's not in one list, but it is in the other, I'll still give it to you. As long as it's in the top 5 of either of these lists, I'll give it to you.
Oh my God.
Okay. So if you want, you can take some time and then, we'll come back into it. And yeah, so
the thing is about this, I'm a book fanatic, yet because I'm so behind on so many books, I don't know if I'm going to get one for 2023. Although there is one that I think has to be on this list. Everything else is just going to be throwing darts into nothing, into the void, if you will, because I have absolutely no idea. Because then I would have to buy them and I would have to add them to my long list of to be reads. It's still going to happen though. It's still going to happen regardless. But let me at least start off with one. The Fourth Wing.
Well, I'm not going to tell you yes or no. I need the 5. That's kind of how that works.
Darn.
10 years later.
Alrighty, looks like you got your list up, so let's hear it. Top 5 best-selling books of 2023.
Alrighty, so I think these are my top 5. I will say though, please take it with a grain of salt. Please, I'm very small. But I think the first one has to be, The Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. The second one is going to be Yellow Face by R.F. Kuang. Third one, I think it's I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy.
Okay.
Fourth one, I think, is going to be Hellbent by Lee Bardugo. And then fifth one, I think, is Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. Please tell me I have at least one.
All right, from what I see, you from both lists, you've got one.
Is it The Fourth Wing?
The Fourth Wing. In now, I will say the reason I wanted to go with the other one, the November list, was because in the 2023 year date one,
Yeah.
in the top 5, there are 3 books that were not published in 2023.
What? Were they
But
published
they
in
were
2022?
2018, 2016, and 2022.
Oh my gosh.
But in the November one, obviously those are all from 2023.
Okay.
So the November one does have The Fourth Wing as number 5.
Interesting. Okay.
It has it has it in number 3 and number 5. Number 3 is The Fourth Wing Special Edition. And the 5th is just the regular Fourth Wing.
Oh my gosh.
So the regular one came out in May of 2023, and the special edition came out in November.
Okay. Oh, okay.
In the year to date, the top 5 were It Ends With Us by
Colleen Hoover.
Colleen Hoover.
He's-
But that one came out 2016, so I
But
guess it made a comeback.
I was going to say, I think I saw it a lot in bookstores. Plus, I've been seeing a lot of people. I mean, one of my friends, she's been looking for Colleen Hoover books. When we went to a secondhand bookshop like last week. No, the weekend before, 2 weekends before. We went to a used bookshop, and she was looking for a Colleen Hoover one. So I guess that makes sense, because even on TikTok, so many people have been talking about Colleen Hoover. I personally, I don't think I've been attracted to any of them, but I do want to read one just to see what I guess all the buzz is about. But darn, I thought about that too, and as soon as I thought about it, it slipped my mind.
Number 2 on the year-to-date list was Spare, the Prince Harry. What is that? Biography?
Yeah.
Number 3, It Starts With Us, Colleen Hoover.
Oh my god.
Number 4, Dogman, 20,000 Fleas Under the Sea, a graphic novel. Number 5, Atomic Habits by James Clear.
And you know what? I actually want to read that book. And then I think I placed a hold on it on the library app, on the Libby app. And then as soon as it was available, it put me back into the queue. And I think it kept on putting me back into the queue, and finally it's like, yeah, you're done. I'm like, okay.
But in this year-to-date one, The Fourth Wing is actually number 6.
Okay.
The top 5 for the November list is number 1, Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros.
I think that's the second one, if I remember correctly.
Number 2, The Woman in Me, Britney Spears.
Yeah, I see that.
Number 3 is Fourth Wing Special Edition. And that is also number 5. Number 4 is number 18 in the Diary of a Wimpy Kid series.
There's no way.
Yeah.
No way.
No brainer. And then, just to finish that list, number 6, Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing, a memoir, the Matthew Perry.
Yeah, I can see, yeah.
Yeah. Number 7, The Exchange, After the Firm by John Grisham. Number 8, Murtaugh, The World of Aragon by Christopher Paolini.
I think I might have heard of that one or seen it.
Number 9, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, The Hunger Games.
Oh, yeah.
By Suzanne Collins. Because of the movie. And then number 10, My Name is Barbara by Barbara Streisand, yeah.
Streisand,
yeah.
Really? Wow.
And then just to finish the 2023 year-to-date one, because you'll see why I didn't want to use this list. So number 6 was Fourth Wing. Number 7 was Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis. 8 is Verity by Colleen Hoover. Number 9, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's kind of outdated.
That's why I was like,
I love that book. I love that book.
Yeah.
But that's not 2023 because I'm pretty sure I
That's
did not read it. Yeah, I'm like, I did not read it in 2023.
And then number 10 is Iron Flame.
Yeah. Dang. We're already at...
Yeah. So that was that. Because I tried going into the Barnes & Noble one because they have a straight up list of the New York Times bestsellers 2023 book list. But then I go into it and then it says the list is updated. So it goes, browse the current list of the most popular books in the U.S. So it says 2023 when I click on it, but then you click on it and go into it and it's like updated. So on here, The Fourth Wing is number 2 for hardcover fiction. Number 1 being House of Flame and Shadow by Sarah Moss.
Yeah, that's that whole series.
And then number 1 on the hardcover nonfiction is The Wager. I don't know if you remember seeing that. I was interested in it. The Wager, A Tale of Shipwreck, Mutiny, and Murder.
That one actually seems like it could be a good one too.
Yeah.
I read the blurb countless times. And it does seem like a book that you would enjoy too.
Yeah. And then number 1 on paperback fiction was Crescent City by Sarah Moss.
I was about to say that has to be Sarah Moss. I'm pretty sure I've seen that title before. Which, to segue a little bit from these top 5, I did want to already mention that for next month, so for the month of March, the book that we'll be reading is actually going to be The Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I've been wanting to read this book for such a long time, and I was actually going to read it because what I want to do 2023 is to catch up on all the books that I have in my... Yeah, you're right. 2024. 2024 is to read all the books or catch up on the books that I have in my to be read pile. So The Fourth Wing is one that I bought last year, of course, because I had a friend of mine from work who had mentioned that, like, this man is not a reader, but for him to tell me that his girlfriend, like, he's like, bought the book for him, he's like, read it. And I'm like, okay. Like, I'm gonna have to read it because I don't know, just I'm easily persuaded. Okay, I'm just easily persuaded. There's no hiding it. I'm easily persuaded. If I'm hearing that other people are reading it and it has fantasy, it has a nice cover, I'm easily persuaded to just read it or just purchase it. So I told you that I had been wanting to read it, and I asked you, I was like, do you wanna like read the blurb and see if this is something that you want to read? And to my surprise, you're like, yeah. I think mainly because it's fantasy, you're a little bit more inclined to it, right? So that'll be the book for March. I'm mentioning this right now even though we're on like the second week of February, like for this book, for Sanctuary of the Shadow. I figured I might as well do that every month, like on the second week, because it gives you time to either purchase it or even try to see if it's available on the Libby app. If you don't know what the Libby app is, this is not sponsored, but the Libby app is if you have already an existing library card from like the county, city, whatever, wherever you live, you just put your information on there. And you can essentially almost like rent out the books, like a digital copy of the book, and just read it, even listen it too. They have audiobooks as well. So if you rather listen to it, there you go. There's that option. Or if you want to read it, you can. But I do know that sometimes the whole times, I think the longest one I've ever had was like 8 weeks, maybe even 12. 8 weeks, but just to kind of give some time. I know 8 weeks would be far too long, but you never know. But I did want to have that out there. That way it gives people some time to either purchase the copy, purchase the book, rent it out, XYZ, whatever. But it gives you some time. Yeah. I actually like the whole top 5.
Yeah.
Because I like that. At least I got one.
Yeah.
You know, you can't go wrong with the 4th wing. I feel like I've been hearing that way. Like if I'm hearing that outside of TikTok and I hear other people purchasing it, I figure that would have to be like one of the top ones.
Yeah.
But I also thought the Jeanette McCurdy one would be at the very top as well.
You know, I completely forgot about that one.
Really?
I knew the Britney Spears one was going to be up there.
Yeah. Yeah, and I forgot about the Britney Spears and the whole Matthew Perry one too. Oh. I forgot about that. Bummer. But yeah. So about the chapters for Sanctuary of the Shadow for this week, I wanted to start off with just a recap of the things that happened from chapters 8 through 15. So I wrote down all these notes to make it as not like going from one place to the other. That kind of organized myself. So I'm going to go ahead and just read off from my little notes. So starting off with chapter 8, essentially it's just Haru. It starts off with Haru's last day at the circus. She kind of starts to reminisce on the last things that she's going to be doing at the circus. And then afterwards, the escape begins. Mal had given Haru a sleeping tea to give to whoever the guard is for Wraith's tent. So in this case, it ended up being poor little Ollie. They give him a little sleep tea and he passes out hours later. Luckily, whatever the little magic, the little lock that Mal had to unlock Wraith's cage worked and they actually escaped. Wraith has this little moment after leaving the cage. He's just standing outside of the cage and kind of takes in that moment of freedom. And as soon as he had that little moment, he was ready to go after Salazar to just try and kill him. Haru tries like 2 times to stop him, but he's just not listening. And so what does she do next? She kisses him. And as they're kissing or deepening the kiss, the water within Haru stirs up as if she's in danger. She stops the kiss and immediately just looks at him and asks him, like, who are you? And this then goes into chapter 9, where they run to Haru's caravan. They snap out of the moment from their kiss. And Mal's like, come on, we don't really have the time for this. Let's get moving. So they go into her caravan and Wraith decides they tell Wraith to just wait outside because he's just too big and it would feel just claustrophobic for him to be inside of the small caravan. And as he's waiting, Lauren shows up. Wraith, he's out and he looks at Lauren. He really wants to kill him. And Mal tells him, he's like, no, stop. And this is where she notices that he is also bloodthirsty too. And she just tells him, no, you're not killing him. This is not what we're going to do. And they essentially just tie him up. And this is where this is the vow moment. I call it the vow moment. Because Mal tells Wraith to go put him away and come back, but do not kill him. And this kind of triggers something in Wraith, brings him back to like some sort of memory to where he feels uncomfortable, and Haru notices this and he's like, okay. He's like, I'll come back. And they leave Lauren in the cage, and he comes back and says, it's done. I didn't do anything. Mao, or when he leaves, Mao also looks at Haro and tells her, like, you said that he would be innocent, but you can see through his actions, his need, his bloodthirst to kill, that is not really the case. He's not really all that innocent the way that Haro has said that he is. Well, he comes back and Mal takes him to the inn that they're going to stay at. She booked a room. Apparently, this is booked at a place where a gang called the Ouroboros gang, and they're not like in good terms with Salazar. They don't really like the whole little Sal circus, but they pretty much own and operate the majority of Allegra Enterprises, and they have that in. They got a room, and this game plan works. That's pretty much how that goes. Mal leaves them there, and she goes back to the circus, and that's the end of chapter 9. Chapter 10. Wraith takes a little shower. He takes a cold shower because this man was having some thoughts about Haro that were just a little too spicy. Too much. While he's taking a shower, Haro has a dream where she's back in the water and she's in the depth, and she sees, at first she says there's like 2 rings of fire. And that's when she noticed those eyes. Those are Wraith's eyes. And we then have a moment where we're seeing into Haro's past for the first time. It's a memory of her. I typed it here, or I wrote it here, a memory of scry or scrying, which I took it as this is like her practicing her connection to the water. Because you don't really get a definition of what it is, but using a little context clues, that's what I think it is. Maybe you may interpret it as something else, but that's how I took it. This is where we see her mom for the first time. And I get 2 names, and I know later on it gets clarified, but I saw her mom's name as Luthera or Melora. Yeah. And then later on it's confirmed as Melora. So yeah. I'm still confused as maybe, are there like 2 names, but who is Luthera? That's the one thing I kept reading over and over, and I don't know if I just read it wrong.
No, yeah.
But that's when we see that this is not just a memory of her past. This is the memory where her entire clan gets wiped out. Yeah. So this is exactly when they're practicing Skyring, and they're seeing that there's some commotion happening outside, and her mom tells her to run. But rather than running, Haro decides to stay. She just couldn't move. And that's when the monster finds her, after pretty much wiping out her entire clan, finds her, but rather than killing her, leaves her be and just goes away. Mm-hmm. And that's where she has a conversation with Wraith, and this is where she finally admits to Wraith that he looks like one, but still doesn't feel like he could be a Wraith because he has a body. He isn't mindless or a soulless creature, as she says. And then they kiss, and things get a little bit heated. And that's essentially how chapter 11 starts. Is I think for like a couple of pages they're just having a very I'd say the whole chapter. I call it a little sexy moment. But after they have the little moment, they talk about his memory loss, and you can see, you can pretty much see that Wraith really does not know why he cannot remember anything. But this is also the moment where he reveals to Haro that vows that's where he saw that vows mean something more, like something more to him than just like a little promise. To him, it feels like he's almost being
bind. It's a bind.
Yeah, a bind. There you go. Yeah, that's exactly the word that he used. A bind. And he doesn't this is exactly the reason why he doesn't like to speak so much, because it feels like it could potentially lead him to being binded to something else, and he just doesn't like that. Afterwards, this then switches over to the point of view of Mal, which last week we were saying that her name is Malachi.
Yeah.
But we then noticed that, or I brought it up. I was like, I don't think it's Malachi. I think it's Malika.
Malika.
Malika?
It's not Malika.
I think it's Malika because it's Malilaikah. Malika.
Malaikah. Oh yeah, Malika. Yeah. So not Malachi, it's Malika.
Malika. So
just Mal.
yeah. So Mal. The point of view switches to Mal or Malika, and she's back at the circus. And there's only a few moments until Salazar barges into her place and asks for Haro. Where is she? Mal plays dumb and essentially is like, I don't really know. What are you talking about? Is she not at her caravan? And Salazar pretty much tells her, like, can you just tell me? I'm not trying to punish her. I'm trying to search for her to protect her. And this is where we find out essentially a little bit more about Salazar. I don't know if we believe it or not. We can talk about that later. But essentially, we find out about Salazar's plan, essentially. So we find out the reason why catching a wraith is so tough, because essentially, again, they have no body. But so how do you catch one? And so this is where he reveals that Queen Daria found a way to catch one in a body, but before she could kill it, it essentially escaped. And that's how Salazar pretty much found it. And his job essentially is to bring it back over. Because aside from being the head person of the circus, he is also an emissary of Queen Audra. His job is to protect stray elementals. So the queens are still very much involved in the elementals world. At first, we thought that they have been essentially casted away from the elementals, but we're seeing now that they haven't been. They're still very much involved, but it's almost as if like on the down low per se. Mm-hmm. So essentially, once Daria lost the wraith, Audra came over to Salazar and told him, find it and please deliver it to Daria. That way she can destroy it. But again, how do we know he's really telling the truth? And we can discuss that a little bit further and we can see. But essentially, Daria knows of Haro, and pretty much Salazar guilt trips Mal. Or I feel like he's guilt tripping her to get her to come forth to say something about her. But she doesn't. She stays quiet. Salazar ends up leaving the caravan. But you can tell that Mal just feels so uneased by this and wants to go speak to Haro. Now, chapter 12 starts off with another little sexy moment. Yet another one. And I know Pablo was just so over it by then. But that's essentially how their moment starts, and then it switches back over to Mal. Essentially, she needs to go talk to Haro. And as she's trying to escape the circus, she comes across the Ouroboros gang. And she tries to fight them off, but they're just too many. And the guy's like, come on, let's just talk. I just want to talk with you. And he essentially starts to describe to her that she's looking for two people that have recently escaped the circus, and pretty much explained her whole escape plan. And Mal was like, geez, like it was almost as if her plan was just so clear to him overall. But he says, he's like, listen, I'm just looking for those two people because apparently the Oracle is looking for them and has a message for them that could be life or death. And rather than going to Haro, she's like, there's just too many eyes on her. So she just goes back to the circus and tries to think of another way that she can go talk to them. Chapter 13 happens again, starting off with another steamy moment. Throughout this whole steamy little situation, Haro almost confesses that she loves him. And
stupid in my opinion, but we'll get into
that. I have so many thoughts, but let's finish with the recap.
I have one thought.
So many thoughts, but we'll get to that. Essentially, they pretty much spent the last 5 days, and there's like it's a small little time jump, hardly just 5 days. But essentially, what they've done in these 5 days have just been really, they've just been having it at that bed. That's all I can say. And Haro almost tells Wraith that she loves him, and says like, I really love, like, I think she's like, being here with you, something cheesy like that. But that's when Wraith asked her like, what is love? Because this man, again, he has no idea. And so here goes Haro trying to explain what love is, and then gets frustrated because, again, this man doesn't know anything. And so it's like explaining to a blank canvas, like, what is love? But that's purely objectionable. So, and then they end up going up to the roof of where they're staying at in the inn, and they talk about Haro's childhood. And throughout this whole time that she's explaining it, we don't really get a clear idea of who her dad is. She doesn't really know who he is. She only talks about her mom, but we don't really know who her dad is. I don't really know if that's much of importance. I have a theory, but I'll get to that later. But she asks him if he knows what his, like, how was his childhood, and he has nothing. Because, again, this man literally does not remember anything. And we'll find out later why. Chapter 14 essentially starts out with Haro deciding to do a reading. And she pulls out the first card, and it's the Deep. She gets scared and stops, but she then figures out that the Deep actually represents Wraith. And she starts to have a dream. In this dream, she's in the water, in the depth of the water, and she's trying to reach Wraith. And she admits in this dream that she loves him. And as she tries to reach Wraith, the harder she tries to get to him, the more distance or the more a pull is forcing her away from that. And then afterwards, she appears in a room with Queen Daria. And they start talking about, this part, man. This kind of goes into chapter 14 and 15, like this end little part. I'm just going to kind of put it all together. But essentially, Queen Daria tells her that she knows of the seers and she considers them her children. And she knows about Haro, has known about her essentially since she was born, and has been following her around. But like in the shadows. Queen Daria considers Queen Audra her only ally. She's the only sister she really talks to and really has any like open communication to like anything that's going on. And essentially she tells her everything that we find out that Salazar tells Mal. What Salazar, like his role in all of this, how he's supposed to be taking care of the elementals and everything, and his job with catching the Wraith. And this is what we get into chapter 15, where I feel like everything changes for Haro. Can you agree?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like this is her moment of like, oh.
For her. I'm going to say for her.
For her. Yeah, for her. So essentially, Daria begins to tell Haro a story. Starts telling her that when she killed her sister's mate, which this is Queen Fury, when she killed Queen Fury's mate, which was Pharaon, this is essentially what started the Wraith. And this is something we learned in chapter 1 and 1 through 7, that Queen Fury created the Wraiths because Queen Daria killed Pharaon, which was Queen Fury's partner, her mate, her significant other. Essentially, Queen Daria had had enough of Pharaon because he kept attacking at her border, and so she devises up a plan to kill him, but kind of posed it as this was an accident. I didn't actually want to kill him.
She wanted to make it look like his assassination was just a normal act of the war, just an accident between all the action.
And for the most part, the plan was successful. However, Queen Fury did not buy that this was an accident, because for her, she knew this was not an accident. And so what did she do? She retaliated. She created the Wraith and essentially just wiped out the whole clan of the Seers to get back at Queen Daria. And Haro starts to get very angry about this. She's like, my whole clan was killed because you tried to kill her mate, and this just backfired on you. Like, my whole family is dead. The people I grew up with are dead because of your act. And so now Queen Daria starts to explain her plan to kill a Wraith. Essentially, she again explains to her that it's difficult to kill a Wraith because they don't have a body. They keep saying incorporeal. Incorporeal?
Incorporeal. Yeah.
Incorporeal. Essentially, they don't have a body. So how do you kill something that doesn't have a body? And she says, do you remember the moment where a Wraith goes up to you but doesn't kill you and instead just flees the scene? In that moment, that Wraith essentially disobeyed Queen Fury, and she knew that he did not follow through, or they did not follow through with the act, and Queen Fury tortured them. Mm-hmm. She left that Wraith so weak, and Daria knew that this was the perfect moment to grab them and try to find a way of killing them. They're weak. They have no strength to kill or anything. And so she essentially takes 50 years to figure out how to kill this Wraith. And finally, when she figured out how to do this, he escaped, but in the body that her magic had created for him. And because because this Wraith was put into a body, their memories are wiped of anything they have done prior to being in that body.
He was basically reborn. Since new body knew him.
Yeah, new body knew him. And Haro starts to essentially put all the pieces together, and she's like, that's why I can't. This is why when she looks at him or tries to see into him, she sees a clear soul, because in that body he has not killed.
And by he, we are not talking about.
Yeah, we are
Wraith.
not talking about Wraith. My bad. But yeah, we are not talking about Wraith. He essentially, in that body, he has not killed, but prior to that, he has.
Yeah, he was a normal
Wraith.
Killing Wraith. Yeah.
Exactly. And this is where Haro starts to resent Wraith.
So basically, for those who have not connected the dots or, got confused, the Queen confirmed that the Wraith that was sent out to kill Haro as a kid, that killed her family, is the Wraith that she's messing around with.
Yeah, messing around with.
So it basically got confirmed that the guy she's basically seeing killed her family.
Exactly.
Is the same one that the Queen is looking for, tortured, all that stuff. All that is the same one. And I'm just explaining that because that's another thought that I'm going to talk about later.
And to kind of wrap it up, because we're getting to a little bit of how chapter 15 ends, Queen Daria then tells Haro, she's like, please tell me where you're at. She's like, right now, because you're in the Ether's territory, that means you're in Queen Nashira's, like you're in her domain. And I cannot do anything without risking a war. So she's like, please tell me where you're at. I will try to figure out a way of getting you out, and I'll try to keep Wraith, because right now she has Wraith, and you can't even call it a dream. She essentially is having him relive all the killings that he's done.
All his memories.
Yeah, all his memories. She essentially has given him all his memories prior to him being in the body.
In his sleep.
So that's like, it's more of a nightmare if you ask me. So she's like, I'll try to keep him in this quote unquote dream. Yeah, trance. That's a good word. Yeah. Keep him in this trance as much as possible. Just tell me where you're at. She tells him where she's at. She's in the Ouroboros Tavern or the inn. And she's like, okay, now run. And that's how chapter 15 ends. Oof. Where do we want to start with this?
I'll start. One word to describe this: predictable. For me, as soon as in the first chapters, I didn't mention this just because I wanted to see how it played out. But in chapters 1 through 7, when she first meets Wraith, and she's like, somehow we feel connected or whatever. I'm like, all right, this is the same one that killed your family. Now you're gonna fall in love. You're gonna have resentful feelings towards him, and at the end, you're still gonna love him. You're gonna end up together. Cool. Next book, please. And then they it's 3 chapters of them just messing around. It's like, dude, 3 chapters wasted on that crap. Like, I don't know. For me, I am now uninterested in this book just because of that, because of the predictability, and I don't know. Like you know me, even with movies and stuff, I like figuring stuff out. Like.
Yeah.
Like a perfect example of this is with the Marvel stuff, with movies. Once I'm done with one movie, I like sitting down and thinking of every single theory that could possibly be and try to figure it out before the movie even comes out, right?
Yeah.
With this, it's the same thing. It's like, okay, now I know where this is going. Like, now I am uninterested because you made it predictable. That's my issue with romance, with rom-coms, with with stuff like that. Like, I don't like those movies because it's basically the same story almost every time, just retold in different ways, and I feel like I figure it out. Like, I'd say 80% of the times I predict it, and it's just like, at that point, it's just not even enjoyable.
I will hit you with this: every story has been retold 1,000 times, even your Marvel ones.
No, yeah, and I know that.
So for you to kind of, sorry, but for you to kind of bash on romance like that, I think it really depends on the book. And here's the thing. Going off by, I will say, I do not like that we got a kiss on chapter 8. I don't know if maybe it's because, and this is why I say the type of books, maybe it really just depends, but I kind of have been now enjoying more of a slow burn for a romance where essentially you don't get to find out that they love each other until like maybe 5 chapters before the book ends.
Right.
And that's what I like, because it builds it up so much more. And I will agree, I have an issue with how the romance is built in this book so far. Maybe this is just my personal preference. I just feel like it was done a little too, not even rushed, I guess.
No, it feels rushed.
Yeah. So it just feels so rushed with how the kiss happens, and then a couple chapters later she's saying that she loves him. Granted, she said that she would never love a Wraith. She doesn't really find it out until later, but whatever. Regardless, it's
like, why are you kissing the dude as soon as he gets out of the cage?
Yeah, like how
bro.
is this your way of stopping him? Like, there's other ways, like maybe, I don't know, punch him, I don't knock
And
this man
the-
out.
The moment they described that kiss, I was like, okay, if this is how this is gonna go, this is no longer enjoyable for me.
Yeah, I don't like how they her immediate thought to get him to stop wanting to kill someone is a kiss. Like, no.
That's not how that works.
That is not, like, I know you try to figure out different ways to reason with him, like switching up your tactics, but a kiss is the way to go. And then this man is all for it.
Because he doesn't know anything.
Yeah, he doesn't know anything. At first he's stiff, and then he's like, oh, I kind of like this, and then goes in for the second one.
Yeah.
And
lo and behold, that's why we have 3 chapters of
them
that
having
bed just getting destroyed. Like, I did not enjoy that at all. It was like, every page I turned, it was like, again. And like, there was one time, I think it was in chapter 13, I think, where I was just kind of like flipping through the page, and I grabbed like, I think 3 pages by mistake, and I flipped over, and literally the first sentence was still that. And I was like, dude, I just skipped over 3 pages, and we're still in this whole, like, dude, I'm not trying to read that as the majority of the book. Like that at that point, that's what it felt like. It's like, this is page after page after page.
And I will
with
say
the same
this,
thing.
I enjoy smut. I enjoy it. But it was getting to a point where it's like as soon as the beginning of a chapter started, it started with an intimate moment.
It's like, as soon as they had like one, like
their first experience
conversation, it's like once they went into a conversation, like it was like a deep conversation or something, where it was talking about his eyes being like this like fiery flame or whatever, or like he felt weird about I don't know, not knowing anything or something like that. It was followed by yet more.
Yeah.
It was like you stop for a second, you actually go into the story, and then again, and then it kept going like that. It's like, dude, just make that a chapter if you want, and then continue with the book. But no, it was 3 chapters of that.
I think with it being back to back, it seems so much and so overwhelming, because I will say again, I will reiterate, I enjoy smut, and I will say some of the moments I liked it. It was good. But with it being like back to back to back, I was like, can I get a break? Can we get back to the storyline again? Like, it's nice to have like that nice little moment, that nice steamy moment. But at the same time, it's like, I wish it was spread out a little bit better. But again, if it's spread out, I just don't know how this is going to deal with like the rest of the story. So I don't like so many moments altogether. So that's just my personal preference, and yours too. I know you don't want any little bit of it. No. I enjoy it. I don't mind it. I like it. However, this just seemed too much even for me. And maybe for another person, this might just be completely like way up your alley. But this is, at least for me, no. For you, nope. Heck no. Nope. So... But going back to the whole, like the romance thing, this might not be a great kind of, I know for one, you don't really read romance books.
No.
So you can't really say too much about the whole genre, because not all of them are the same. Because I will say.
Well, no, I wasn't even talking about the books though, because I've never read romance.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about just in general, like romance things. Like I've seen, like, me with all those movies, like every time I see a trailer, I'm like, oh, this is how this is going to go. Mm-hmm. And then it's because from the stuff that I've seen, it's always been the same thing. Now with books, it might be different, obviously, because not every book turns into a movie, right?
Yeah. And I will say, like, for me, I enjoy like romance. I enjoy rom-coms more than anything.
Yeah,
rom-coms are my favorite. Or I think, and I know the word chicklet. It's a word mainly that I've seen in Wattpad, but they're just like nice, lighthearted romance books, and I like them because when they're done so right, it just, the romance is, if it's not rushed. It's not rushed. If it feels normal to an extent of what a book can do, because obviously you cannot fit a whole romance, like an actual like romantic start to finish from like a couple, like in the world per se, in a book. Sometimes you can't, but some people do it so well to it feels believable that these two characters fell in love within like a couple of weeks. Yeah. But this is not a couple of weeks. It's been a couple of days. And this girl is already saying that she's in love with him.
Like, girl, you don't love that. You love the bed.
Yeah, I just, oh my gosh, I just,
like, you know nothing of him because neither does he. Yeah. That's how I know damn well you don't know anything about him. And now you do. And now look at you. Now you want to take everything back.
Yeah. And it's like, Haru, love, sweetheart, what are you doing? How can you say that you love him? You don't know him yet. Give it some time. Sure, he seems sweet, but you just got him out of a cage. Don't you think that could all just be like some sort of trick he's trying to do? Like, as an outside perspective that we like, let's say if we didn't know Race's perspective and this girl just tried to get him out. Yeah. Like, what if he was just trying to persuade you into thinking that, oh yeah, he really cares, or he's really a sweet guy, when in reality, no, he's about to kill you the moment he gets out. I mean,
that's what it could look like from the people that know he was the one that killed
her family. That's true. Mm-hmm.
They like, for example, Salazar knows that he's the one that killed her family. So for him trying to find them, man, maybe he does actually care about Haru. You know, it's like,
and that's what I wanted to ask you. Yeah. What are your thoughts on Salazar now? Do you believe like his whole story?
I believe it.
You do?
I like, he is like, and I believe it because of what happened in the first few chapters where the humans were coming in and he scared them all off. Like, they try to build him up as this mean dude who just doesn't care, but he scared all the humans off. Yeah. Because now we know it's because they were basically threatening the elementals, right? Mm-hmm. So he scared them off not because they were disrupting his circus, but because they were threatening the people he was supposed to be looking out for. Right. And obviously he has to hide that, so he's going to play this evil dude. He's like, oh no, I'm running a circus here. This is business, this is money. Yeah. And this place is no longer good for us, for business, so we're moving. Like, no, this place is now threatening to the people I'm looking out for. Mm-hmm. We gotta go. And to everyone else, it's like, oh, he just cares about his circus. But really, he's just on a mission. He's literally looking out for his people, per se. Exactly. Like, for strays. He's looking out for those who no longer have anywhere to go.
And I forgot to mention this, but Salazar also tells Mao that he knows what she's running away from. Yeah. And that she's making sure that she's protected. Like, he essentially is saying that he's like, he knows what's going on. He knows there's so much happening. And there's a reason why he does the things that he does, because he's trying to protect his people. Yeah. And again, he's an emissary of Queen Audra. His job is to protect elementals. I will say, I do believe him. I feel like there may be one or two details that he's keeping out. Either him or one of the queens. I feel like someone is leaving out a detail. I'm not sure what it is, but I feel like something is being left out. But I do see Salazar as someone... I don't see him as an evil character anymore. Yeah. I see something more humane about him. Something softer, I guess you could say. Yeah. But what sorry. I also saw it like... And the reason why I feel strongly that he is not such a bad person is because when he did have Wraith in a cage, he hit him and essentially like said like, this is for her. Mm-hmm. I forgot how he said it, but he tried to hit him and like because of Haru. You can tell that he cares about his people.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, he never gave away Haru's identity or anything. Maybe you could say that it was because of some orders, because Queen Daria knew of her, or Audra, but he stayed silent about her and did not tell anyone in the circus and let everyone believe that she was human.
Yeah. Now I do feel like there's that bit where you said, you see him as a more humane type of thing, softer. I don't see it as soft yet. Like, I do see that good side of him now, but I do also see that he is the type of person to do whatever it takes for his mission.
Yes,
like
I agree.
Like you could say, yes, he cares for his people, but if you're in the way of his actual mission, he will do whatever it takes to get back on track.
I agree.
So while he is humane, we have to remember he's still on a mission. He's protecting those who he cares about, but will do whatever it takes to keep doing that, because that's his mission, So if you're in his, this is why I'm like saying this, because if Harrow gets in the way of him trying to get that wraith or whatever, even though he might care for her, his whole mission is to protect the people that he is with. And if his mission was to capture that wraith, he will do whatever it takes to get back to that.
Do you think that there's going to be a moment where that could happen?
I think so. I think so, because of what I figured out, like my thoughts, my theories.
Right.
Where at the end, Wraith and Harrow are going to be together. That's how that's going to work. In my head, I'm not saying that's 100%. I'm just saying, for me, that is. This is where we're going. This is where we're headed. Like right now, she is, she quote unquote hates Wraith at the moment, because now she finds this out.
Correct.
But obviously, the whole love thing is going to play out. And she's like, no, but I love him. He doesn't know. Like, for the same reason that he's this new body, new person. She's like, oh, yeah, but that was the old him. Like, it's the whole, oh, he changed. And
I want to know how, because I also think they're going to end up being together at the end of this book. Yeah. I'm just wondering how the author is going to do it. How is this going to play out? Because if I feel like she's an idiot for getting back together for him, like for the reasons, because there are some romance books where it's like, this is really how we're going to resolve the issue. Like, we're not going to kind of drag it out or kind of delve into it a little bit more. Like, that's sometimes my issue with some romance books, where it's like, all right, they got back together and it's like, it doesn't feel like they groveled enough. Yeah. Or like went through the hardship. And then it's like, okay, now they can be together. No. Sometimes I feel like they might grovel for like a page or two, and then like the next chapter, they're together. Yeah. Sometimes I need to feel like I'm in pain for 2 chapters, and then like maybe 3 chapters before the book ends, they're together. Yeah. Sometimes I just need to feel that pain. But I feel like in this one, they might get back together for a stupid reason. Yeah. I think. I hope not. I just don't see how someone who killed your whole family is someone you want to be with. I don't know how you overlook that.
Nah, it's gonna end up being like yeah, I hate you now, but it's like, you're also the first person I feel this for. And then Wraith is gonna come out and also say, I don't know who that person is anymore. Like, and I know what I feel now. And what I feel now is that I love you. And he's going to come out and say it, because, this whole thing is like, he's asking what love is. He hasn't said it yet. He's going to end up saying it. And Harrow is going to feel a certain way about him actually saying it. She's like, maybe he's not that bad. Maybe he's whatever.
But it's like, this man still has very dark thoughts. I mean, he has like...
But I mean, if that hasn't stopped her now... Because she's like, I don't sense bad in him. She's just going to go with that. It's going to be the sense, him actually saying, I love you.
I also feel like the water is going to play a role in this, where, the water has essentially told her, like, go help him. Protect him and stuff like that. And it's like,
even now when
I need a good reason as to why the water is telling you this. Like, what is this person like out here to change the world? Like, I need to know. Yeah. Like, I just can't take that some outer force is telling you to be with this man for what?
Yeah.
And it's like, I like a whole little soulmates thing, but it has to make sense.
Yeah.
Or it has to come together. And right now, it just doesn't feel that way. It feels too rushed.
Yeah.
For me being someone who's a fan of romance, I'm not liking this romance bit in the book. Because I feel like some things just don't make sense. And I'm giving it a lot of... I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt that maybe this is just how this world is, or I just feel like so much can be expanded. And this is why sometimes I feel like fantasy books need to be chunkier, because when a book is chunkier, you can explain it a little bit more in those chunks. Yeah. This one is like, this book is not that, it's like an average book. Like an average book size. That's what I meant to say. Like, this is the size of an Emily Henry book. So, and that's like one thing I wanted to bring up. Like, the most recent book I read from Emily Henry was Book Lovers, and the romance in that one, chef's kiss. I even told you, the man in that is my book boyfriend. He's a good book boyfriend. I told you, I was like, you need to think about it. He's a book boyfriend. Because it's a nice slow burn. It has some nice spicy steamy moments, but they're done so well, and none of them are outright saying that they love each other or anything. Like, maybe they had like a little thing for each other, but that just gets explored more as they're having like these moments together. That book is a 10 out of 10. I highly recommend it. Like, I really enjoyed it. It was a nice light read, and when I'm thinking about the romance in this book, I kind of think about to another one, and it's kind of bad to kind of compare, but at least you kind of get an idea of what kind of what kind of romance reader I am. I like slow burns, not too slow of a burn, but I like when it feels natural and real. This one feels very... I don't even know how to explain it. But I can, like, immediately when they kissed, I was like, oh, Pablo's not going to like this. No. He's not going to like this. And then the steamy moments, I was like, oh, he is not going to like these at all. And so I was like, he's going to be put off by this so much. I was really hoping that maybe at least the Queen Daria's like moment with Haro might have given you like a little bit more, like bring you back into the book, because I feel like just a little pat on the back for myself with how I ended like this week's. Yeah. Because I was like, chapter 15, the way it ended, I was like, oh, I want to read more, but I need to wait, because if I start reading the next ones for the next week, it's gonna I won't be able to talk about it the way that I am right now.
And just to kind of explain that for those, that don't know, well, everyone is like, only I knew to this point, but she split this book up like how we were going to read it, just randomly. Like, she looked at the amount of chapters there was, the amount of pages, and she's like, okay, so we're going to split this up into 4 parts. First part, 1 through 7, 8 to 15, 16 through, I forgot what the other one was, but it's all going to go in this order. And she just did that randomly. Mm-hmm. So for her to have selected chapter 15 to be the last one we read in this section, and for it to end on quote unquote cliffhanger, I say quote unquote because that wasn't a cliffhanger to me. Like, I knew, but it was like, yeah. Like as soon as you finished the chapters, you texted me and you're like, did you finish this yet? Because, bruh, like in all caps.
Bruh.
And so like at that point I was like, no, I haven't. But now I see why you reacted that way, because you ended it on like the perfect cliffhanger. But yeah, like you said, I I don't know. I lost that interest.
Yeah.
And I would say I probably lost it in the beginning. Like, I'd say maybe the first 5 chapters were good. But then as soon as I saw that she was somehow, quote unquote, connected to this person, I was like, oh, well, this is what's going to be it. That wraith is the same one that killed your entire family, but you're not going to care. You're still going to be in love and all that stuff. So, so far it's played out that way. And I'm just uninterested.
I will say, I feel like if maybe they had talked about the connection a little bit better, like, is this a connection that other people have? Is this something that's common for elementals? I feel like that would have brought something a little bit more to this romance, because I've seen it in others. It's like, oh, these people have been fated from before they were born or whatever. Like, they're supposed to be together, but something is keeping them from being, like, not in a relationship. And so they have to the whole point is to overcome that with other things that are happening around them. But I feel like here she mentions a connection, but it's like, is that connection valid? Do other people have that? Is that how you find out that's who you're supposed to be with? It just seems so, it doesn't seem significant.
Yeah.
And it just feels like another detail, but not significant enough to be like, oh yeah, you should definitely be with the person who killed your whole family.
Yeah.
So, but I did want to bring up, what are your thoughts on Queen Daria being in her dreams and her explaining everything to Harrow now? Do you feel like Queen Daria has an ulterior motive?
I don't think so. I think from what she explained, she's being straight up.
Yeah.
She's like, I mean no harm to you because you are one of my people, one of my seers. But I am going to need that wraith back because I'm trying to kill it. Like, she that's essentially what she said. She's like, you can go. You can run. I'm cool with you. Just tell me where he's at and I'll end him. You know, like I'll get back to what I was doing. And she's like, bruh, I've worked on this for 50 years. I'm not about to let you fuck him. And then that's it. Like, no, I need to kill that dude. So I think she's being, I thought she was pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
She's like, I had to bring you in here because you were refusing
any other way
contact that I was trying to get with you. So I was like, you're asleep. Let me bring you in here real quick.
Let's have a talk, my dude.
Yeah, let's have a talk.
Maybe some therapy for you.
I've seen what you've been doing. I'm gonna need you to stop because that dude gotta die. It's like, I've been brewing this for 50 years. I'm not gonna let you ruin this for me. She's like, this is literally what could end the war for me.
Yeah.
I can't let you be ruining that, but you're cool, so go ahead.
And that's the reason why Queen Daria wants, like, she's been trying to figure out how to kill Wraiths because she doesn't want Queen Fury to do this again to someone else. She wants to, because it's not, it doesn't feel like a level playing field.
No.
Which, by the way, I was trying to map out, like, who the sisters are. So Queen Daria, she's the queen of water.
Mm-hmm. Fury, fire.
She's a fire. We find out about Nashira and Audra, but I couldn't figure out who they are.
I think Audra is air.
Air? Okay.
I
Nashira?
think if we're going by
like the elements,
like Fury,
elementals,
fire, right? Daria doesn't really sound like water, so I don't. But we already got told that she was water, so
yeah.
Audra, I'm just gonna assume air. But then Nashira is obviously that's Earth, but or Earth is the last one. But I don't see Audra being Earth. I don't know.
Yeah, I was trying to find that in the book, and I was hoping maybe you might have known.
I don't think they've told us yet. They've addressed them by name, but not by what they represent. They just say the queens.
Yeah, the queens. And even that felt like a little to me. I don't know. There's something about this fantasy in the book that I feel like could be explored on a little bit more. But I don't know if the plot allows for that.
But that's the thing.
That's my issue right now.
If you take off the sleeve of the book, you see a sun with the 4 elements, right? You see fire, earth, wind, and water.
Yeah.
But and then you have the race named elementals. They deal with hybrids and their powers off of the elements and stuff like that. And then they talk about the queens that represent each one.
Yeah.
And then that's about it. And like that's where it also kind of threw me off. I'm like, this was supposed to be about powers. and
I know.
And it was like your cover is the 4 elements, and all we're getting is people that represent that.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, oh, the fire queen made wraiths, like made assassins. Nothing to do with fire. You just see the fiery eyes, whatever, stuff like that. Harrow is a water elemental, ignoring the water. And so that's what led Daria to have to go into her dreams to contact her. Which I know all this is probably going to get explained later on.
So.
I hope so. But it's like also at that point where it's like, I hope not. Because we're already a little more than halfway of the book.
Yep.
There's very little left. And it's like, if they explain that, plus what Harrow is going to go through, plus the relationship story, plus what Salazar is actually doing or whatever, plus the relationship she has now with Mal, plus explaining all the queens, and then maybe eventually dealing with the end of the war or whatever. If all that is going to get explained in these few pages, this book is going to go downhill, because you cannot explain all of that in, I'd probably say, a fourth that we have left.
Mm-hmm. Not even a fourth. No, we're a little bit past the halfway point. We still have the rest of that, like the other half of the book. We still have like
a third. Yeah.
We have a good chunk to get through, but I also feel like this might end up getting rushed. Like, for me, a good fantasy book is a thick one, because it explains and builds on the world, or maybe it's a trilogy. So that's like it, or not even a trilogy, but a series. And so much more gets explained. I don't see how that fits into this book. I don't know. Something is missing. Maybe more plot. I don't know. Because right now, okay, the thing is to what? Just kill Wraith? End the war? But then what's going to happen? All these elementals are still outcasted by humans.
Yeah.
Like,
But I mean, is this not a series? Is this not going to be a series? This is book 1 of whatever she's doing, right? I know it's a debut novel, but
I think it's just, right now we only know that it's 1 book. We'll find out if there's more at the end, because if there's another book that's going to come out, it'll be at the very end to where it's like to be continued, or it'll leave it off a little bit open-ended for something else. But not all fantasy not all fantasy novels are part of a series. But this one, I don't see how a series could even be created with this.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess we'll see. There's so much missing from this book that I just don't feel like it's giving. And I'm kind of disappointed. Yeah. But we have to trudge through it. Yeah. I mean, I hope something gives out, like something turns out for this, but I feel like a lot of it kind of ruined the experience with all of the steamy moments that just fell back to back. And that was my primary issue. The romance just seems a little bit rushed and flawed here, where I've never been so disinterested of a romance between two couples. Like, I'm usually always like, oh my god, this guy is my book boyfriend. But no, I don't know jack about Wraith right now. I don't know anything about him. I just know that this man has no memories. He is a Wraith prior to being in his body and killed a lot of people. And honestly, I don't see how that's a redeeming quality. Yeah. Like, he's just
gonna reappear, know about his memories, but just go up to Harrow and be like, that's not me anymore. That's not who I am. And she's like, how do I know? And she's like, because I love you. And then that's how that's going to go.
A little. They're in the rain.
Yeah.
Everything's falling down and they're looking at each other.
You know, and then being in the rain could work because that's like the water, like her letting go of the water or whatever. Like everything is going to tie in that like dumb way.
I'm expecting a little bit more. And I guess there's not really much we can delve into except just keep on theorizing. But I guess, well, for next week chapters, it's going to be chapters 16 through 23. So another couple little bits.
And y'all better hope there's no smut in these next few chapters because
nice,
I'm gonna
you learned a term.
Because I'm gonna be coming back in the next episode even more pissed. So y'all better hope.
If there is smut, I just hope it's good, but not back to back. Like maybe one smut moment. If there was only one smut moment in these chapters, would have been at least okay. I know you don't like it, but
I guess like I would have brushed it off and be like, all right, that was a waste of time. And then that's
but it would have at least been one little moment.
But now it like since it was one moment turned into 3 chapters, now I'm like, okay, if this happens again, it's gonna go for another 3 chapters, and I'm gonna be even more pissed about it.
Yeah.
If it was just one moment, like it was quick, whatever, I would have been like, okay, if it happens again in the book, it's gonna be that same way. You know, it's gonna be quick, whatever. I can get through it, bang. But now that I know this can take up to 3 chapters, the next time it happens, I'll be like, all right, great. How much am I going to have to skip over?
And you know what? I feel like you might like some of the other romance books that I've read because there are some romance books that rather than going so deep into it, they'll lead up to the moment in such a... Rather than being very detailed, there we go. Rather than being detailed, it's almost glossed over. But they describe it so well where you feel that moment of love. And then it's like, okay, they had their little cute moment. Let's segue to what happens after. This one kind of gets very into the nitty gritty of what they're doing. And that just is not something appealing to you. Where maybe if it had just gone up to the point where they start to have that moment and get into it and then just end it there rather than essentially the climax of it all.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Like, it would be something different for you to read. It would just depend on whatever kind of book we read in the future.
Yeah.
That way you can kind of compare it because again, this one is more smutty because even for me, the last book I read again, Emily Henry, it was not like that.
Yeah.
It was steamy, but not so graphic. There we go. Graphic. Not graphic in the way that this was.
Yeah.
So much. I don't know. Very different. But anyways, next week, chapters 16 through 23.
Almost there. Halfway.
Almost there. Halfway. I personally think in these next couple of chapters, it is going to be, we are going to have a moment where Harrow and Wraith are going to be apart. That's what I think it's going to happen. I feel like he might actually end up getting captured. I'm just not sure if maybe by, maybe Queen Daria or Salazar or maybe even Queen Fury. I don't know. But I'm hoping we get to find out a little bit more about the world, a little bit more about the other queens. Just a little bit more world building, I guess. I'd love to understand it more. Yeah. That's my hopes for the next chapters. Yeah. What about you?
I hope there's plot.
Yeah.
Like literally that, and it's sad to say, but it's just like, I hope there's plot because like I said, the first 7 chapters were plot. We're basically leading up to the reveal that happened here, but I don't know. Like to me, like I said, for me it was predictable. So I hope there's something that pulls me back in.
Yeah.
that is that kind of throws a curveball. It's like, oh wait, I thought this was gonna happen, but now it's this. But I don't see that happening. But I hope for the book's sake that it does happen, and that there is no longer any more smut. Just for the sake of my interest in the book.
Yeah.
Because like you said, when you showed me the blurb, I was like, yeah, this sounds cool. And now to me, for me to be completely uninterested is kind of like, dang. Like it was such a cool idea. And that's the thing. Like now I'm not trusting a blurb anymore.
Never.
Because it's like I read that and it seemed cool, and I completely missed where it said anything about romance. And which it did. It had the word romance in there, but I'm like, yeah, I mean, any story can have. I mean, even Spider-Man or like comic stuff has the romance in it. But it's like to go like this. It's like, dude, like.
Yeah, and here's the thing too. Again, and I want to reiterate, this is just coming from us two as readers.
Yeah.
Maybe this is not.
Yeah, let that be very
because this could very well be someone else's cup of tea,
and
it's fine. Like
I
said, for me right now, it's sitting as a like 3-star book because it's there. It's not maybe one that I would reread right now.
No,
this is like our halfway check-in point.
Yeah,
it's for me, it's like a 3-star.
For me, I'd go down to 2.
Yeah. And
I'm only at 2. Like I would go down to 1, but I'm at 2 because of how it like grabbed me in the beginning. Like it has potential to go back to that. Maybe it was just this little section of chapters that was just this bad. But like you said, this could very well be a 5 out of 5 so far for somebody else.
Yeah.
So don't let this discourage you from wanting to read it.
Because and I feel like this episode has been a little bit negative, but it's because for our taste, it's just it's not there.
And I mean, that's the point of this, right? This episode might be very negative, but because it's just that section of the book, next episode we might come back and be super positive because now that it had this negative part, anything that it does right will be super positive and we'll have the things to talk about good about it in the next episode. And then the next one could be bad again, or maybe good again. And it's like that's the point of this. Really, so don't let a negative episode steer you away from wanting to read the book.
Yeah, because again, we're just two different readers.
Yeah.
And I know there's so many people who love smut. TikTok loves smut, or at least some groups of TikTok really love it. So maybe this is a book for those kind of readers. It really just depends.
Yeah.
And I guess we'll keep on seeing how this goes within like the next. We only have 2 more episodes for at least Sanctuary of the Shadow. Then before we start on a new one, but who knows? There's still a little bit less than half a book to go, so we can really only see where we go from there. But again, take it with a little grain of salt, but that's just our take right now.
Yeah.
I will say, hopefully, this episode is supposed to come out every Monday. Last week came out on a Tuesday. We'll work on something a little bit more consistent. Time is still to be decided because I feel like we might want to post this up in the morning. That way people have it as soon as they wake up. Yeah. They want to go to work and like hear this or whatever. But we're still working out on the little times. Format of the show can still change. We're still learning and figuring out everything that may work best for us.
Yeah.
But hope you guys are enjoying this and are along for the ride. If you would like to keep up with our social media, we are on TikTok, Instagram /Threads as well. We are not on that little X platform. That's just no. But we'll be on YouTube and everything will be in all the links, whether that be in the bio or the little things of the episode. But I think that's it for this week.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
See ya.